So last week, we started our annual march, if you will. I invited you to come with me on something of an annual theme. It's called the calling. And last week we just started to talk about it. And I thought, I read this little story. Some of you may have heard this, some of you may not have. But I thought when I read this, I was like, oh, this is perfect. Because this is really what it's all about. So the story is called You Are Divine. A Hindu legend aptly describes the divine power inherent in each one of us. There was a time when men were gods, but they abused their divine powers so much that the Lord Brahma, the master of all gods, decided to take these powers away and hide them in a place where they would be impossible to find. The lesser gods debated the issue of the hiding place. They suggested, why not bury man's powers in the earth? Lord Brahma replied, no, that will not do, because man would dig deep and find them. Then the gods said, we will send their divinity to the deepest depths of the ocean. The Lord Brahma replied again, sooner or later, man will explore the depths of the ocean, and she will find those powers and bring them to the surface. The lesser gods concluded, neither land nor sea is a place where man's divine powers will be safely hidden. Therefore, there is no place to hide them. At that moment, Lord Brahma exclaimed, that is what we will do with woman's and man's divinity. We will hide them within themselves because it's the only place they will not think to look. And so as we explore this idea of the calling, it's this idea that the calling, for those of you that weren't here, is kind of a nudge from Spirit in one or more areas of your life. And it's asking you to do something, right? So maybe it's to do something a little bit different than what you're currently doing now. Maybe do something a little bit less. Maybe it's about learning something, or maybe it's simply about slowing down and taking time, which was what my calling feels like this year. I said quite a bit about this last week, and for anybody that's interested, it's on our YouTube channel. You can go watch it, because I know not everybody was here last week, right? And so I want to explain what I feel are the stages of this thing called the calling today with you. And just understand a couple of things about these different stages. First of all, every single one that I talk about can be considered a skill set. So it's something, as you listen to these different steps, understand, you may do some of them really, really good, and there may be some that, hey, I think I might want to brush up on that. I think I might need to do it. But just understand that no matter what, these different skill sets can be developed, right? And so also understand that these different steps that I'm going to be talking about can and are a part of a process. So it's not like it's a one thing and everything is done. It's actually a series or a process. And guess how long that process is going to take? I have no idea. Is it going to take a couple of days, a couple of weeks, a couple of months, a couple of years? Right? You just never know. So the 4 stages of this calling, as we're going to go over it. In each one of the stages, I'm going to share with you, as we go out throughout the course of the year, a definition about what the step is that we're actually going through, some different practices or tools that you can use. We're going to go through some experiences, because for me, my belief is to stand up here and talk isn't that helpful. It's experiences. To me, your divinity, your walk, your awakening does us no good if you don't actually have the experience of it. And so we're going to be sharing some experiences with you so that you can feel it. You can sense it. You can taste it. It's palpable, because that's what this dance is about, right? I'm going to throw in some unity principles in there because, hey, let's not forget what all this is about. So we're going to share some of those with you. And then I'm going to reference some of the tools that you can use when you go through it. So that's what we're going to be doing this year as we go through this process. And so, the calling. What are the steps of the calling? Well, first, sacred listening. Second, sacred discernment. Third, sacred action. Fourth, sacred embodiment. So each quarter, we're going to focus in on one of those. Some of my talks are going to be about these different aspects of the calling. Okay? So let's talk for a minute about sacred listening. Why? Why should we listen? Any thoughts on that? Why should we listen? Why should we take the time to listen to what Spirit's got to say to us?
Because it's the truth.
Because it's the truth? Okay, Charles?
Because we don't know everything.
Because we don't know everything. I like that. Any other thoughts?
Because we can't grow without listening to each other.
We can't grow without listening to each other. Yeah, I love it. I love it. Here's my thoughts, is that we are always being guided. Always. But we don't always listen. Right? So we don't always listen. It reminds me of the story of a DEA officer stops at a ranch and tells the rancher, hey, I'm in here to inspect your land for illegally grown drugs. And the rancher says, okay, but I would suggest don't go in that field over there. The officer explodes, whipping out his badge. He says, mister, this badge makes me the law and order in these parts. And I go wherever I please. The rancher said, okay. And he politely apologizes to the DEA officer. And soon all of a sudden the rancher hears somebody screaming and hollering and sees him running for his life as he's being chased by the bull. And all of a sudden you hear him scream, your badge! Your badge! Show me your badge! You know, and I have to, when I hear that, I have to laugh, because how many times are we like the DEA officer? How many times have you been told by God, or by Spirit, or by a nudge, however it comes to you, and you know, in your heart of hearts, you know that you're being told something, you need to do something, and we just go, right? And so, here you've got Spirit showing up, the rancher, saying, hey, you might want to pay attention to this, and yet we don't. We don't listen. Why? Because of this. Because of our ego. Because we think we know better than God does, than Spirit does. That's why, right? So listening has become a key part or a key tool of this process. And in case you don't know this, it's been written a little bit about in a few of the sacred holy texts, listening, right? Listen, listen to me, God pleads, and eat what is good, and your soul will delight in the riches of fare. Give ear and come to me, hear me, that your soul may live. This is an amazing passage. I've read it, but I didn't pull it apart like I did this time. I was kind of curious, this idea of pleading, so I looked it up. How many times does the word plead used in the Bible? 37. And you know what's interesting? I looked up a few of them. Most of them, almost all of them, are us pleading to God. Isn't that normally the way it works? Yep, that's normally the way it is. God's pleading to you. Hey, listen. Listen to what I'm saying. Eat what is good. Your soul will delight in the riches of fare. Give ear and come to me. Hear me, that your soul may live. Wow. That is powerful, people. Listen to God. Take the time to listen to God. How many people actually take the time to listen to God on a regular basis? A few. A few. It's okay. remember, no shame, blame, guilt, or judgment here. We don't do that here. But how many people actually do it? Right? On a regular basis. This is God telling you, hey, you might want to consider doing this. Maybe something you should think about so that your soul can live. Maybe we should kind of do this. Jesus was a big fan. In the book of Luke, it says, Jesus departed and went into a desolate place. Not just once, but regularly. Why do you think Jesus went into a desolate place? So he could turn everything off. He could turn off his cell phone. He could turn off social media. He could turn off the television. He could turn off the newspapers. He could turn off everything. Right? In the Bhagavad Gita, in the Hindu tradition, yoga is difficult for the one whose mind is not subdued. However, it is possible for the one whose mind is subdued through selfless service and whose self has been conquered through solitary retreat. Why solitary retreat? Why? So you listen. Silence. So you can listen. Silence. Silence. Silence is hugely important. Sacred discernment. It's the act of receiving. So in other words, we've heard something, but now what? What do we do with it? It's the act of receiving a message, then processing what the message is that you received. I call it, it's like you're pulling it through, is the best way that I can describe it when I get it. Because sometimes when the information is coming through, I'm not super clear on it. It's almost like me re-asking God, like, hey, what are you saying here? Because I'm not sure that I'm sure. Right? And it's sitting with that message and processing it. I found this definition online that I liked. It said the practice requires deep introspection, prayer, meditation, or rituals to connect the higher forces. Sacred discernment is not confined to any specific faith, but is a universal concept aligning one's choices with a higher purpose. It goes beyond mere intellectual reasoning, emphasizing intuitive wisdom and profound connection to the sacred. Engaging in a sacred discernment allows individuals to navigate life's challenges with a sense of purpose, clarity, and a deeper connection to the divine. Question: how many people want a sense of purpose, clarity, and a deeper connection to the divine? Just kind of curious. Right? Yeah. All of us. All of us want that. That's what we all want. And so sacred discernment. Right? Then I found this: trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, and we will make your path straight. Now, just in case some of you are wondering, unity doesn't just look at a text, because instead, what do we do which changes everything about the understanding of a verse? Metaphysical interpretation. What's that, Mike? Well, what unity believes is that every person, place, and thing in the Bible has a metaphysical interpretation, because we believe that the Bible really is a story about humankind's own spiritual journey. From the standpoint of waking up to the standpoint of falling asleep, and then all of a sudden waking up again, only this time we fully awaken, right? And so, let's talk about this. Trust in the Lord. What is the Lord metaphysically? It's the activity of the spiritual I am as the ruling consciousness. In other words, what unity believes is we have ego consciousness that most of us are familiar with, but we don't understand there's a whole other operating system out there that we can use, and we have access to that. And that's called Christ consciousness or divine consciousness. And when all of a sudden we go, hey, I think I want to kind of start playing with this thing, I think I'm going to actually make a decision that maybe, just maybe, there's something inside of me that might be a little bit different, and I'm going to believe what some other people and some other really special people, Jesus being one of them, Buddha maybe being one of them, and a few others. Actually, there was a lot more. But they all said the same thing. Hey folks, yeah, you've got ego consciousness, but there's this other operating system. If you start playing with it and using it, it'll change everything for you. That's divine consciousness, right? Our divine consciousness, the creative power within us. Okay, so that's the Lord. And then it goes on to say this idea is our own understanding. What is our own understanding? Ego. Ego. Okay? So, then now let's reinterpret it. Trust your own divine consciousness, your own divine guidance, your own I am presence with all of your heart, and lean not on your own ego, but in all your ways rely on this consciousness, and it'll make your path straight. Is there a little bit of a difference in those two passages? Do you see why Mike loves metaphysical interpretation? Just look at that for a minute. Trust the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to Him, and He will make your path straight. Not bad. This brings it to life. This makes it real. You can sink your teeth into this. Trust in your own divine consciousness with all your heart and lean not on your ego. In all your ways, rely on your divine consciousness, and it will make your path straight. Sacred action. So, we've listened, we've heard, and we've discerned. So now guess what? It's time to actually get your butt up and go do something with it. Take sacred action. Taking action that's based on the information, right? Because guess what? Nothing happens without taking action. Nothing happens without you taking action, right? In the book of James, it says, faith by itself, if it is not accompanied by action, is dead. In Buddhism, better than 1,000 hollow words is one word that brings peace. In other words, one word that creates something is worth 1,000 that does not. Action. Action. Action is a critical part of this process. And I find it, when I'm coaching, I find people who struggle in this step the most. They will not take action. They often given up on that nudge to take action because of normally, honestly, fear. They're afraid to take some type of action. And they stop dead in their tracks. Sometimes for weeks, sometimes for months, sometimes for a lifetime. If any of you have had addiction in or around you, you know exactly what I'm talking about, right? They know probably shouldn't be doing this, and they continue, and we continue to love them, right? We can do that. So, and we all know people that have a lot of great ideas, and then every time you talk to them, they're going to share those great ideas with you, right? And then what happens? You talk to them a month or 2 or 3 months later and going, hey, what about this thing over here? And it's like, oh yeah, well, and then they come up with something else, and then something else. Anybody know somebody like that? I think we all do, right? Yeah. And then finally, sacred embodiment. And sacred embodiment is where the learning that has happened, and now you live it in your day to day. What you do every single day, you are now living it. And it becomes who and what you are. It's what you do on a daily basis. It's where you actually take everything that I've been talking about and you actually start to do the dance with spirit. In other words, you wake up in the morning and it's like, good morning, God. What do you got for me today? What's happening? What does this look like? And then all of a sudden you just surrender to that. And now it becomes a dance. This beautiful dance. And when things show up in your life, you don't look at it like it's God punishing you, or you've done something wrong, or you're a sinner, or you fill in the blanks. Whatever that means or sounds like to you, we don't do that. We actually show up in trust. We believe that the universe has our back, as the saying goes. And we believe that whatever is showing up for us is for our highest and greatest good, for our own awakening, regardless of what it is. And then all of a sudden it's like, Spirit can actually share with you. It can actually help you go through difficult times. Because when you start doing this dance, don't think that all difficulties are going to go away. That's not the way this works. It's just that when you come into them, you've got a different set of tools that you can use to get through them. So hopefully, whatever it is, you can get through quickly and not stay stuck there. That's the plan, right? So you get to do this wonderful dance with Spirit. Only now, you're listening, you're discerning, and you're taking action, right? And throughout this intentional living, as I'll call it, like you're waking up every day, you're making a commitment to your divinity. You're like, you know what, I'm going to do this a little bit differently than I've been doing it. That's what I'm going to do this year, for those who care to join. You cultivate this connection with your own spiritual essence, that thing that's inside of you. And you also do it in your body. You embody it. And there's this balance. Because look, folks, we're in a third dimensional reality. We're here, right? It's not just about being airy-fairy and sitting on a mountain for 3 months and meditating and not moving and not engaging. That's not why you chose to come here. Maybe some people in Tibet, maybe they can do it. But we're in Grand Rapids, or wherever you are, it doesn't matter. But there's this balance. It's a holistic approach that really emphasizes the sacred, inherent ability for you to do the dance, the sacred, beautiful dance with you and God. And to me, there's nothing better than that. Nothing better than that, right? And so, this year, we're going to be doing a deep dive into each one of these things. Like I mentioned, we're going to use the tools. We're going to do the things that we talked about. And I really hope some of you join me. Would be the fun part, because I'm doing it. And as we do it together, we get to go deeper. And like I said, I'm going to be sharing a lot of thoughts about that, what it's going to look like, and some tools, and we're going to have some experiences in it. But just understand that ultimately, why are we doing all this stuff? Why? Why are we doing all this stuff? Because it's who and what you are, and we have simply forgotten. That's why. And we're deciding, I don't want to forget anymore. I don't want to be separate anymore. I don't want to have to continue to live my life and feel like I don't have anything. I don't have any person, any place, and anything that I can lean on when things get hard, when things get difficult. You are a beautiful, magnificent, incredible expression of the divine. We just forgot. And that's what we do here, is we come together and we remind each other. And even when we forget again, it's okay. We come back here, we remind each other again, and then we just do it over and over again. This life has its moments. It can be very hard and very difficult. I call that sacred suffering. All of us have done it. And it's looked different for each and every one of us. And when we can come together and we can say, I acknowledge your sacred suffering, but I'm here to hold you as you get through it. And in the meantime, we get to come together like this. We get to hold each other. We get to laugh with each other. We get to play music with each other. I think that's the greatest gift of all. When we all decide to get serious and commit to our own spiritual awakening, I think that's the greatest gig in town. I really do believe that. And so, welcome. Welcome this year. Is this a year for you? Is this a year you commit to that? And you say, hey, I'm going to do something a little bit differently? If you are, I'm thrilled that you're here. Because I think it's the greatest journey that we can all do. It's the greatest journey that we can all take. Remembering who and what you are, remembering that connection to yourself, remembering that connection, that beautiful, sweet gift of your connection to God is sweet beyond, beyond, beyond. So, welcome to 2020. 2024. Welcome if you decide to join me. I can't wait to do this sacred dance with each and every one of you. God bless and have a great day. Hey, it's Reverend Mike here. I just wanted to stop for a moment before you get on with your day and thank you so much for spending time with us this morning. It means the world to us, and I just wanted to let you know if there's anything that we can do to make your experience even better, please do not hesitate to reach out by going to our website. I also wanted to offer you the opportunity for us to get together and sit down so I could get to know you a little bit better and answer any questions that you have. I can either do that by either getting together in person, have a cup of coffee, or we can meet online via Zoom. If you're interested, please don't hesitate to reach out. You can reach me at michael@courage2thrive.com. And lastly, if you find these messages are helping you, we would be tremendously grateful if you'd consider donating to the center. The best and the easiest way to do that is simple. Just go to our website. Again, thank you so much. Hope you have a great day. Hope you're doing well. God bless, and we hope to see you soon. Bye-bye now.